Lee from the Oshkosh Beer Blog.
I'm Adam from McKnight Carlson Wines.
And we are at Lion's Tail Brewing Company in Neenah at 116 South Commercial Street in Neenah.
Yep.
And with us is the brewmaster, the founder, and just about everything else at Lion's Tail Brewing Company.
Janitor. Yeah.
Alex Wenzel. Alex, thanks for having us in today.
Cheers. Thanks for coming. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of the show.
Oh, thank you.
I want to say that first. So.
We'll take care of that by the end. So let's talk about this first beer we're going to have today. This is your flagship.
So this was our first beer that we released. It's the Kola wheat, and Kola is the Hawaiian word for golden. It's a golden American wheat, and we have fresh pineapple that it ferments with. And for this 20-barrel batch, we had 125 pineapples in the fermenter with it.
125 pineapples. Cut by hand, right down to size.
Laboriously.
And how long did you say that took you to do?
About 6.5 hours.
Unreal.
It's definitely, there's a reason why they call it craft beer. And so the pineapple, surprisingly, is still pretty subtle, given, that many of them. It's more or less for balance. And
it's definitely there.
I mean, I picked it up right on the aroma. I think it's nice, classic tropical fruit, pineapple.
And now, so this is the second beer I've had from you now, and the one thing I've noticed on both your beers, the mouthfeel is fantastic on these beers.
Appreciate
the texture is just really nice.
And there's some tricks that brewers do to get that, and I think that's probably when I was home brewing, I think that was the biggest thing that people noticed when they as I was reading and learning more about brewing, they said something's different about your beers, and it was those mouthfeel tricks that you can do.
Well, I think that kind of separates middle of the pack beer from really great beer, well-made beer. You get the full flavor, full body.
And I mean, the pineapple is a really nice compliment to the malt here. You must have some caramel malt in here.
There's a little bit of Cara Crystal wheat malt.
Okay.
And that's it's a caramelized wheat malt, and that gives me that nice gold color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it also helps with the mouthfeel a little bit.
Yeah, adds a little bit of depth of flavor to it, I think.
So let's get into where you were coming from. You were a home brewer.
Yep.
And so was this one of the beers that you were brewing as a home brewer?
Yeah, this one, it was never my favorite, but it was always friends and relatives. Can you make another batch?
Yeah.
And so that said something to me, and this one was the one that people said, why don't you start selling this stuff? And so I've always come back to it. That's why I wanted to lead with it as one of my opening beers. But yeah, I'm a home brewer, and I think that's kind of a big trend. Home brewers are becoming professional brewers now.
So you got bit by the bug, and it kind of took over your life, huh?
Yeah, and I come from a chemical engineering career and schooling background, and a lot of people in my field were home brewers, and that's kind of where I got into it. My mother and father-in-law heard me talking about it and gave me a kit one Christmas, and many years later, I own a brewery.
It just happened,
right?
That's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right, so you opened November 20th, right?
Yep.
Of this year.
Yep.
So you're not a month in yet.
No, we're about three and a half weeks in. We're still learning a lot of things, but the tap room has been pretty full. We're open now Tuesdays, but weekdays at 3 o'clock and weekends at noon. And we've got a big, inviting, fun place. Hopefully.
Oh, it's beautiful here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful.
It's my
spot.
first time here. I was blown away.
Yeah. Appreciate it, and hopefully, we've got a lot of games to play, and hopefully we give you a reason to stick around for a couple hours and try some different beers.
Not to go off of the weeds here, but so this building was built in 1909, 1908?
1908.
Yeah.
It's an old insurance company building, and it gave us a lot of charm to kind of work with and use in our tap room. We've got a bank vault right here that we use for customers to kind of hang out in, a little private space, and the original woodwork is in here, and there's not a lot of breweries with crown molding, but it's something I was able to use.
Yeah.
This building was designed by William Waters, an Oshkosh architect that's really well known. A lot of the buildings on Main Street in Oshkosh were done by him, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's a great looking
the attention to detail is.
But I have to ask you a question. So I was thinking this when we came here today. I'm looking at the doors. How did you get the equipment in here?
So the brewing equipment came through the front window of the building.
Okay.
We don't have a cargo bay. We don't have a lot of things a typical brewery is going to have. So we removed the window, which was about a 600-pound window. about 1.5 inches thick, and that's how the fermenters and the mash tun, the boil kettle, which were 54.5 inches through a 56-inch window. So it was,
wow.
It was a challenge. And if we want to make changes with equipment, we're going to repeat the same process.
Oh my God!
But there's a lot of things with a historic building. You can't just take down walls and make your own doors, and so there was definitely some finagling to get where we are today.
So tell us a little bit about your equipment. Like, what are you brewing on?
I have a 10-barrel brew system, electric brew system from Stout Tanks and Kettles in the Portland area, and it's an all electric system. I've always brewed electric. It's probably an easier entry from my standpoint on an electric system, and we have 4 10-barrel glycol jacketed conical fermenters and a bright tank. So we should be able to brew up to about 1,000 barrels a year.
Wow. That's great. That's great. And I tell you, this beer just keeps, like, the aroma, the way that pineapple works with the malt is excellent. I mean,
it's the farthest thing from sweet. It's not sweet at all. So if that's a conception you're getting, I mean, it's just great. It adds another layer of complexity.
Well, people have an idea about fruit beers per se, and this is just a really nice drinking.
No, it's a dry beer. I mean, it's not.
I was thinking a little bit. It almost seems to me like you could get by, like, if somebody didn't know this was fruit, it almost has that, like with late hop Amarillo hops, it almost has that kind of character to it.
Exactly.
It's very nice.
Yeah, and people have asked if that was the flavor from the hops, but pineapples are about 86% water, and then the sugars in them are all simple sugars. So the sugar is all fermented. So we don't get sweetness from it. We do get the flavoring from it, and there's
that's beautiful,
vitamins and so forth.
Let's talk about your ingredients a little bit. You're getting you're sourcing most of your brewing ingredients from Wisconsin.
Everything's as local as I can get. The hops are all from Gorse Valley, which is out in Mazomania area, north of Madison. The malt is all from Breese in Chilton, and then our yeast is from Chicago. Sorry to say we had to cross state lines for that one, but until there's a yeast bank that's in Wisconsin, that's as close as we can get. All the woodwork in our tap room is all from Neenah, from a local lumber yard, and so we try to do everything as local as could be.
Nice. And one thing that surprised me that you told me just before we started is that you're hoping to do some lagers.
I'm a lager lover, and it's usually a challenge for small breweries to do, just because it ties up your equipment for longer, and there's more attention that it takes. So I may be kind of foolishly optimistic and naive to think that I can do a lot of lagers, but that's my plan right now. And
I hope you stay that naive, because we need more lager brewers around here for sure. I mean, so speaking of lagers, let's get into this. This is your Mile of Munich dunkl.
Yeah, so this one, the name, of course, a play on the local music festival in Appleton, the Mile of Music.
Sure.
But it's also, we use literally a mile of Munich malt in here. Munich is our base malt in it, and I'm a malt fiend, always have been, and so it's a fairly rich.
It's got an uncommonly full flavor, I think. I mean, for this style,
excellent.
I think it's wonderful.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this before we started. And Alex was a little reluctant to pour this beer because he didn't think it's quite where he wants it to be yet, but I think it's fantastic.
You and I both were just singing the praises of this. I think it's delicious stuff.
The malt flavor and the aroma is just out of this world. I mean, it really hits the mark.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I hope people can get past the dark color. And you hear a lot of people say, what's your lightest beer? If you can ignore the fact that this is a dark beer, and dunkl is German for dark, I think people are going to like it.
I think what the problem people tend to have with that is the roastiness, and this has no roastiness. I mean, this is a very smooth drinking beer. So I imagine you're using carafa to deepen the color.
Right, dehusked malt, and the other thing that I do with my darker grains is that I'll do very late addition. A lot of times.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, with these roasted malts, you don't need to do a full mash on them. So I'll do a late addition. You can get all the color extraction out of them without the astringency.
Yeah, sure.
That's a pain in the ass to do too. You don't like to do anything
no,
easy.
No, and I mean, a lot of things are easy to do in your basement as a home brewer, and they're new challenges when you're doing
scaling up.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So how do you feel about the transition? I mean, you're not even a month. So how are you? comfortable, or is it?
I mean,
every day amazing, or
it is.
Going to bed at 3 in the morning, is that amazing? Yeah.
I mean, that wears on you a little bit, but when you love what you're doing and you enjoy going to work in the morning, I couldn't ask for anything more. I think I talked to enough brewers before I got into this from the local area. And by the way, the brewing community's been fantastic. But I think I knew enough about the lifestyle to not go into this thinking, it's an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
But when you love what you're doing, it's not work.
Just to get across. So Alex was here last night till 3 a.m. and we came here this morning at a little after 9.
Yeah.
So thanks for
I got to sleep
making the effort.
A little bit today. 6 whole hours. So
that's cool. All right. Anything else you wanna get across?
Well, we've got happy hours during the week at Lionsdale Taproom. It's right downtown Neenah, next to the clock tower. We open up at 3 o'clock and we do $1 off draft beer and off of glasses of wine. And $1 off our Crowlers. And actually,
oh yeah, let's talk about that.
Sure. So this is a Crowler. It's a cross between a can and a growler. And the concept here is growlers are so big and difficult to remove the oxygen from, and therefore keep a beer fresh in them. But with a Crowler, they say you can keep it fresh up to 6 months. I've not tested that yet, but I know at least we can get three weeks, and it's still as fresh as the day I poured it. But we can it right here in the tap room, and I don't know if behind me if you can see the Crowler machine, but it's a custom can sealer.
I'll cut some video in, so we'll get that in there.
Yeah, and it's basically we fill this can straight from the tap, and we put a lid on it and label it, and you can take home any of our house beers in a Crowler for $8 normally on happy hour for $7.
I just like that size. I like the package.
It's a great format.
You get a growler, you need to drink it pretty much.
I mean, it's
right away because that thing's not going to hold up so well. With this, you could let it hang on to it for a couple days, and at that size, you don't need 2 people to finish that thing. Well, I don't.
I know the growler culture is what's kind of gotten popular as far as takeaway draft beer goes, but this is going to supersede that, I think, before long. I mean, it just makes a lot more sense.
It's excellent.
Yeah, and one thing too, I think instead of people having too many beers when they're here in the tap room, I think this gives them a way to take that last one home and enjoy it at home.
Yeah, definitely.
And make it a safe night. So
this has been fantastic, Alex. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
Cheers.
you having us in.
Great spot.
Yeah. Prost.
Cheers.
Oh man, I like that beer a lot.
Yeah.